Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Adil Sheikh. I'm the regional manager for Helping Hand for Relief and Development in New York City. And today's episode is about the beginnings of HHRD. And this is going to be told by the legendary ILyas Hasan Choudry, director of programs. He's going to be in a lot of our episodes because he's a trailblazer and many, many other things, mashallah. Brother ILyas, let's jump right into it. We have a lot of ground to cover. Um, why don't you tell us something interesting, a fun fact about HHRD, please?
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And thank you very much, Brother Adil Sheikh, for starting these series. And it's going to be interesting, hopefully, for all the viewers. So, as you know, that the first ever major project that HHRD did started on October 8th, 2005. So maybe some of the people, they know that October 8th is celebrated as the International Day of Octopus. Do you know the octopus is considered as one of the longest existing species? Their
Wow.
fossils,
Okay.
their fossils, they date back to 300 million years. So the fun fact
Wow.
is that the very first day that HHRD did their first major project, it was also the International Day of Octopus.
Oh, how appropriate. Look, if you, I think if you were an animal, you'd be an octopus because you, mashallah, wear so many hats, and we can't believe it sometimes when you come out with all these reports and all this information. We're like, when does Brother Ilyas sleep? Like, when does he eat? When does he do anything else? So that's very appropriate. Um, so that's very interesting. Tell me about the beginnings of HHRD. Where did it start? How did it start?
Yeah, if you really want to go back to the history, we have to go back to our parent organization, Islamic Circle of North America, which started in 1968. And during the
ICNA. Okay.
80s, so during the 1980s, ICNA started something called ICNA Relief as a separate entity, as a separate registered entity. And ICNA Relief's job was basically to be the Muslims for humanity. Wherever there is a need, ICNA Relief will respond to. So at that time, there were a lot of floods during that time frame in the 80s in USA, as well as across the globe in Bangladesh, Pakistan, and other countries. So ICNA Relief responded to those incidents. In 1990s, one of the major projects that was done by ICNA Relief was when we had the refugee issues because of the war in Europe, in the Balkans, like Bosnia, Kosovo. At that time, a lot of refugees they came to USA as well as to other countries across Europe. So ICNA Relief was very much involved in that. During that time frame, ICNA realized that uh, there is a need to have a separate organization that can handle overseas projects because the protocols and the things which are necessary to be properly done are different. There are different entities, different countries, in other so different laws, different regulations across the globe in different countries as compared to USA. So ICNA decided that let's register another entity for humanitarian work as a separate 501c3 in 1998, and it was registered in 1999 as Helping Hand for Relief and Development. While ICNA Relief will continue to work inside USA, but Helping Hand will work outside USA. Since this was a new concept, a new organization, it took some time before it was implemented. So the very first major project that HHRD did was on October 8th, 2005, when the earthquake hit Kashmir, Pakistan, in that area. It was one of the largest earthquakes to have ever hit that part of the world. So HHRD started with that as the first ever project.
Mashallah, that's wonderful. This is very interesting. I think a lot of our supporters, our donors, volunteers, they don't realize that we are under the ICNA umbrella and ICNA Relief, which does great work, mashallah, great
Mhm,
work. That they are our sister organization, and
mhm,
so. Tell us a little bit more about like some early challenges that you remember, because you've been with HHRD how long?
Yeah, so I used to be a volunteer for ICNA Relief, and then
Nice.
I transitioned into a volunteer for Helping Hand for Relief and Development from the very first day, October 8th. And then in 2008, I became part time and then full time in 2012. My background is basically I have a master's degree in traffic and transportation engineering, and
Okay.
I worked as a traffic engineer between 1996 and 2012 in USA. And then my volunteer or part-time work with Helping Hand became a full-time kind of a work. So I was trying to do two full-time jobs. So I had to do, I get rid, you can say maybe, of one of the positions. So I decided to stay with Helping Hand for Relief and Development because there were a lot of needs. So initially, as you asked the question, that the challenges were that we put a few challenges on ourselves. Originally, we thought that we will go in the U.S. Community. They responded and gave us around $500,000 for that project in Pakistan, and we
Hmm.
established a lot of health clinics, a lot of physiotherapy clinics were done because a lot of people were hit by this earthquake and they had either lost their limbs or had physical challenges. And second thing, we realized over there that there were a lot of orphans in that area. So the original thought was that, okay, we'll just go in, help people, and then maybe continue help through some partner organizations. But then over a few months, we realized that people have entrusted with at least $500,000, and people want to give more for this cause. In order to do a better job, more effectively, more efficiently, with better due diligence, we realized that we have to stay there in that country and get registered ourselves as a NGO over there. Initially, we got registered as an local trust from 2006 till 2015, and after that, the government of Pakistan asked us to become an international NGO registered over there. There's slight difference between a local trust and an international NGO. So initially, we also put a challenge on ourselves that we will not take any grants from different entities. We will try to develop some concepts, some program concepts, some project concepts of our own, and try to develop some sort of comprehensive programs for our physically challenged people because of the earthquake, as well as there were a lot of orphans. So these were two of the major projects, you can say, in the beginning. Plus, healthcare was there, and emergency relief and disaster management was continued, where we try to build some resilient communities. So, as I said, the initial challenge was that we were relying mainly on private donations. And when you're relying mainly on private donations, they are kind of uncertain. They depend on how credible you are, how properly you implement things, and people have confidence in you. So the initial challenge was to build that confidence in HHRD by providing the best possible service to the humanity, as well as people who are donating to us reach out to them in a proper manner, report back to them, and those kind of things.
Mashallah. So why no grants? I'm sure people are wondering, like, why wouldn't you take grants? Like, why?
Yeah. When you take grants, let's say you take a grant from one of the UN agency, or you take a grant from USAID, let's say. So you're answerable to just one person or one entity. So the things become easier for you. But when you're trying to establish something long term, something which can become kind of something which is missing, some gaps are always missing. So if you become someone who not only fills up those gaps, but also go a step forward, then maybe the other entities are going through. So idea was to develop your own concepts of helping people rather than relying on the existing ongoing things. So something that can be unique can be created, because, as you know, the NGOs have been there for maybe more than 100 years, and they have done quite a bit of work for the humanity in order to resolve the issues which the governments cannot. Uh, so if the governments cannot resolve certain issue and they rely on a non-governmental agency or entity like Helping Hand to resolve those issues, so there should be some proper homework done, some proper groundwork done to understand the real issues at the grassroots level. And the only way to do was not to go with the traditional grants, but try to develop something on your own. So we really appreciate each and every donor from the very beginning who has helped us, because there is a concept of developing a non-profit organization. So what the people have done is not only help the humanity or the people who are in need, but they have helped in developing and establishing, alhamdulillah, we can say one of an effective and efficient non-profit organization from the Muslim community. So we really appreciate
Mashallah.
for all the people for doing that.
Mashallah, that's a very big deal. I mean, the fact that we didn't go that route,
Mhm.
we took the tougher road. I think it says a lot about the people that were involved at that time in management.
Mhm.
The strategy, perseverance, the passion that they must have had to trailblaze
Yeah.
without any grants is pretty amazing. Actually, it's
Yeah. So I will
admirable.
just add one thing.
Mashallah.
Just add one thing that there's an entity called Charity Navigator. So Charity Navigator, they when they first evaluated us around 2010, around that time frame, and because they wait for 3-4 years for some entity to start and then they evaluate. So one of the things they did inform was that we are one of those organizations that rely 95% on private donations, and maybe there were few grants here and there, but these were not major grants. These were like anything under $50,000, not a major
Mhm.
like $1 million grant or something like that. So,
Sure.
as I mentioned, that our majority of it was through private donations.
Hmm. And that's Charity Navigator is they're looking at 9,000 charities, right? Something like that.
Yeah, more than 9,000 charities. And
Okay.
there was a time when they said that we are among the top 10, like we were number seven actually of those
Wow. Mashallah.
organizations who were relying on private donations. So we were number seven at one stage for 5 years, but after that we lost that. But they don't give the numbers after 10. So
Mashallah. That's amazing. I think that that's one of the things that differentiates us from a lot of the other organizations is how highly rated we are in Charity Navigator. And I believe that we are 4 stars out of 4 stars 10 years in a row. And um, I believe that only 3% of the charities in Charity Navigator have actually gotten there before. And so I think that that's a very big deal. So, Brother Ilyas, tell us about some major milestones for HHRD.
yeah, so when we decided that okay, we will stay in Pakistan and will help the humanity. The reason being that people have entrusted upon us a large amount of donations, and we should do a proper job. So we said that okay, we will continue using that as one of the principles in increasing the number of countries that we are in. But before doing that, we decided that we should do a strategic planning exercise. So in 2010, so after 5 years of existence, because we were really busy doing a lot of things in Pakistan, and there were some other activities happening in other countries like Turkey, Indonesia, and some other countries were also hit by earthquakes. So we were involved in quite a few countries, and we started our seasonal projects, Ramadan and Qurbani Purim. So we were kind of busy, but we decided that in 2010 we should do a proper strategic planning for HHRD. And at that time, we came up in 2010, we did a proper 5-day exercise where we invited all of our staff members who were working at that time with us. All the Some of the overseas teams were also part of it, as well as we had some experts and some professors and some other people also involved with us during that 5-day exercise, and did a whole strategic planning for 2020. So we said, okay, we'll do a 10-year plan and then we will work on it. So we found out that there are 5 things that we should do if we really want to be a leader in this field. By leader, I mean, sometimes people feel that president is something who's a leader, but a leader is someone who people like to ask questions, like to ask for advice, like to ask for a direction. So it does not mean they should have a title or something. So by being a leader, it meant that we should be doing something that other people can follow, also as well. So we have to do, and all this through the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we did that strategic planning. That was, I think, one of the major milestones that we achieved. And based on that, then we went forward. We said that, okay, wherever there is an issue, which is of a global nature, we will go over there. So Haiti was hit by an earthquake in 2010 itself. So we said, okay, Haiti will be our second country. We will try to register ourselves and establish our work over there. And that was the first time we also established something called Doctors for Haiti and Youth for Haiti. So these were 2 major programs because we were doing everything outside USA. So we said, how can we involve people to go and see our projects? So we instituted these programs at that time. Then Africa was hit by one of the worst drought. So we went into Kenya, Somalia, Uganda, and Tanzania. These were the 4 countries where we had our projects, and we established our offices by registering ourselves over there. Then there was a huge crisis for Syrian refugees. Originally started in 2011. We thought that it will be over in 1 year. So initially we were not involved, but then towards the end of 2011, we realized, okay, this is going nowhere. And in fact, that was a time when I started, the pressure of work within HHRD started to increase a lot because we were in Africa, we were in Haiti, and now the Syrian refugee crisis coming in. That was a time when I also decided to join full time. And then we went to Jordan and Turkey, trying to think that where should we have the office. So we decided to have it in Jordan because it was a little bit more peaceful at that time, with not that much direct involvement in the actual war that was happening. So and Jordan really was a nice place that we had. So in each places that we went in, initially either people from USA or our Pakistan office, because Pakistan was our original office. From these 2 offices, they went in and established the work. And then later on, we had local people who have taken it forward. So this is how we established our work. So these were real milestones going into Haiti, which is just across as one of our neighbors. And then, going into Africa and Jordan. And in Jordan opened us with other countries like Palestine, Lebanon, Turkey itself also. That if we have to respond, our team can easily go from Jordan. So we were able to establish our work in MENA. And then during that time frame, we also realized that there's a lot of need in neighboring countries of Pakistan, let's say Afghanistan. So we established an office in Afghanistan in 2014. And then in Nepal, after the earthquake in 2015, we established an office over there. Since we are Muslims for humanity, so wherever we felt that Muslim community in USA, an overall community of USA, is responding to certain causes which HHRD has taken up, then we were trying to register ourselves. So Nepal was one of the countries where it is a predominantly a non-Muslim country, but the people of USA, they really responded. So we started the office over there as well. So these were kind of
Mashallah.
milestones in terms of going into new countries. because that was our mandate, that we will work everything outside USA, and then economic relief work everything in USA. So these were strategically selected locations where there were huge catastrophes, and at the same time, people in USA were responding very well towards those causes.
Mashallah, the those 5 days strategy meeting, I think, was very, very impactful. I think it was a very important part of our history, and it would be very interesting to do an episode on that alone. You know, so impactful. It's amazing. The energy in that room, the passion in that room, the talent in that room must have been amazing. I can only imagine. I wish I was there. You
Very interesting
mentioned
thing
youth.
happened when we were
Okay.
discussing and strategically looking into locations. So one of the professors, he said that if you look at the map of Africa and include the Madagascar with it, so
Okay.
it is a question mark. So he said that if you resolve this question of Africa, you will resolve the issues of all the countries. So that is why after Haiti,
Mashallah.
we went into Africa. And then, inshallah, we plan
Wow.
that with the help of all the people, as we develop ourselves more, inshallah, we will, inshallah, able to answer that question which come naturally. Like then, by nature,
Yeah.
the shape of Africa is like a question mark.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so amazing and so symbolic. What he was saying, it makes so much sense. It was like a gateway for us. It seems like you mentioned MENA, which is I just want to let the audience know that that's Middle East and North Africa, right? And you also mentioned Youth for Haiti. We have these youth trips that we take college students. I believe it's like 17 to 25, something like that, Brother Adil? Yeah. And
Yeah,
so a lot of
15 boys and 15 girls is a minimum standard,
mashallah.
So,
Yeah, yeah, and they were college age kids usually, and from what I heard, when they come back, it's like they're totally different. The way they look at the world is totally different. The way they treat their parents, their siblings, their coworkers, their everything changes for them because they see how people live on the other side. It's amazing. We'll do another episode just on the youth trips. I think they're really a very special thing that we have. I think if you can give us some all-time cumulative data, just to put things in perspective, that would be really good.
okay. So, over the years, as I mentioned, that originally when we started, we raised around $500,000 at that time. So this I'm talking about the cash donations which are coming in. So all of you who are listening to us right now, you yourself, your families, your friends, your co-workers, and many of them who may not be still listening to this, they have, mashallah, contributed. So on an average, every year we have had between 30 to 35,000 donors. And last year itself, we raised around $47 million in terms of the cash donations. Again, this number is unaudited. The number which is audited is the year before that, which is 2020. We raised around $36 million at that time of cash donations. As I mentioned, that we do not have direct projects in USA, but we have established something called an in-kind gifts program or department that offers youth and people in the community to come together and gather items which are very useful, very nice, and send them to different countries through our in-kind gifts program containers. So we do get items which value around $30 million for the past 3-4 years every year. That has
Mashallah.
so overall you can say that on an average, our donations right now are around $75 million per year, and we did some calculations, some analysis, and found that we have spent around $4 per person at overall as an average to help them establish their living, empower them. So using that analysis and all the analysis which has been done, I will say that we have helped more than 70 million people during this time
Allahu Akbar.
frame, and we have raised more than maybe $300 million through your support. So this, in nutshell, I can say that around 70 million people, at least we have touched their lives in some way or the other.
I mean, that's beyond comprehension. I don't even know what to say to that. That's totally amazing. Um, wow, Allahu Akbar. So, what would you say differentiates HHRD from other organizations?
Yeah, one of the things which I always felt is there, but recently I also realized when I went to Nepal, and also I went to Philippines recently, just last month. So in Nepal, I went to three different locations. One was their capital city, Kathmandu. But after that, I went to the province which is right on their east end, you can say, and then another province right on their west end. And both of them I went. And Kathmandu is in right in the center. Both the places I went by air. It took around maybe 1 hour or 1.5 hours to reach there. But when I reached there at their respective airports, it took me another 1.5 hour to 2 hours to reach to our projects. So it means that the
Hmm.
major airport nearer to our projects was 1.5 hour to 2 hours drive, which means that we really work at grassroots levels. We really work deep into the communities. Uh, we could have stayed right near the airport. It would have been more convenient and help people around there. Definitely, there's help need over there. But there are people who are far into these communities, far away, who are more neglected, you can say. So what we try to do is we have limited resources of the people. So you'll even see if you look at Pakistan, we have 15 skills development centers, and majority of them, around 75 to 80% of them, are in rural areas. So it means that we are not just restricting ourselves in urban areas where there are more facilities for NGOs, with more easy to work, maybe more easy for living for our staff members. But we are sending people in deep into these communities, which is quite unique, I feel. At that time also, we will not just rely on some easier area. We always try to find those people who are really far away, trying to reach out to them, because those are the people who really need more help. I'm not saying that people in other areas don't need help, but I'm saying that how to prioritize your work based on your limited resources and the confidence that people have put on you. So in order to get the maximum result, this is something that we really do. The second thing which is unique about ourselves is our in-kind gifts program. Again, I will say that in some cities in USA, wherever it is easily possible to have a warehouse based on the cost and everything, and we do a proper cost analysis. Wherever we have opportunity, we have started these warehouses so that locally you have an opportunity to use your own hands, maybe go out in the shop, something for as a gift for people overseas. So this opportunity we also give to our youth who are always looking for volunteer work, throughout the year. So this is one of the programs that is kind of unique that other organizations they may be partnering with, they may partner with other organizations to do something like this, but we have initiated this. This is kind of another unique thing, that I may say.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you mentioned the warehouses and the volunteers, and the picture that comes to my mind is all the stories that I hear, and because we don't have one in New York, unfortunately, right now, but Chicago, I mean, they send like 30 plus containers a year. It's amazing. And so um, Dallas does a lot, all over the country, and I hear these stories of people just going and just like having tea and just like waiting for clothes to come in, and they're just sorting them and boxing them and laughing and talking and just like discussing life, and it's so amazing.
Yeah.
It's the fact that we can provide something like that, an outlet for people, in this country. It's really a service in itself, actually. And so I want to end with, it's all about the beneficiaries, right? This is why we all do everything that we do. It's all about the beneficiaries. So I wanted to end with, if there is a success story that sticks out that you just can't get rid of. When someone says the words success story, this comes to mind. That's what I want to hear from you, and that's how we want to end this podcast episode. Please.
Okay. So I was thinking about it, and as you were saying, in fact, there are so many. During my visits, I've seen so
I'm
many,
sure.
and maybe
Yeah.
we'll can have a separate segment on that. Um,
Sure.
the youth program that
Inshallah.
we have, you already said that we'll have a maybe different segment
Mm.
with our youth team,
Yeah.
and maybe some stories can come over there. But there are a couple of stories. One is that we have, over the years, we have developed a very nice, alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a comprehensive child development program through orphan support program. So one of our beneficiaries, in fact, he graduated from our orphan support program. Then he went into a place which is called Helping Hand Institute of Rehab Sciences. So he asked some private people to give him scholarship, and he went over there and he became a certified doctor of physiotherapy. And now he came back and he's working for our Children with Disabilities program. So the
Wow.
person that we helped, in becoming a doctor of physiotherapy eventually, uh, he actually has gone back and is serving the people of HHRD, the children of HHRD who are in the rehab program. And this is an amazing story for someone to start like an orphan with us and to have gone into that direction and serving the people that we are trying to serve. So it's an amazing success story. One other one that I would really like, which always stays in my mind, is that when I went to Kenya in Madogo, it's a place which is also hit regularly by droughts. So we did a water project over there, which brought and the water source within 2 mile radius to a lot of people and 1 mile radius to others. Previously, these people were going 5 miles to one of the rivers or a lake nearby. And one of the issues over there is that because of the kind of environment, they have crocodiles in their lakes and rivers and even small
Wow.
water ponds sometimes. They told me that they were crying, when they were doing the prayer at the inauguration. Some of people were crying, and then they told me that actually they're crying because one of the sisters or one of the lady was killed by a crocodile, and because they didn't have this facility nearby. So they were so grateful that they started crying just because of that. And that always sticks to my mind, that that lady, we could have saved her maybe, but God had that in the way. That was God willing. But at the same time, maybe if we had reached earlier. So we have to try wherever possible. Whenever we learn about something, we always try to rush and try to do certain projects for people. Sometimes we are not able to do it, but again, this thing actually kept coming to my mind, that there are people out there that we may not know who may be suffering, but we were able to actually save some of the people from that same area for the future to be affected by something similar. And one other thing I tried over there was the ladies over there, they put water in a barrel and then they roll it on the ground and take it home. So they go like 1 mile or 2 miles doing that right now. Previously, they were doing 5 miles. So when I tried that, I could only go half a mile, and then that was it for someone like me, and I could not do it anymore. So I was also
Yeah.
thinking that at least we have saved 3 more miles of something similar, at least 3 more miles or
Yeah.
something similar for those ladies. So that saves even some little girls. They used to take that. So now they have a little bit
Yeah.
more time in their lives to maybe go to get educated or do something
Yeah.
more productive also at the same time, just not spend the whole time getting the water. So that
Well,
really
they can,
always
yeah.
sticks with me.
Mashallah. I mean, they can preserve, they can conserve actually their energy, right? They can use that energy for something else. That time is a resource they can use for something else. It's very interesting how HHRD indirectly affects the lifestyle of some of the neediest people in the world. Yes, we provide food and shelter and medical attention, but what about the gratitude, the confidence that they need to maybe get married, or the energy that they need mentally to raise children. There's so many things that they get out of it. Once we give them a meal or shelter, then they can focus on other things in life. It's very interesting that we don't think about those sometimes when we ask for donations, and the people that donate don't think, oh, they're just thinking, oh, I'm just going to give $100, but they don't realize what a big difference it's going to make. It's not just a meal, right? It's more than just a meal. It's a tomorrow, and a brighter tomorrow. Brother Ilyas,
And that
this
is
has
why
been
we
an
call it
amazing,
Sadka Jariya.
yeah,
So all
Sadka
the
Jariya,
projects are
mashallah.
in fact Sadka Jariya because they are helping people right now, and they will help
Yeah,
hopefully the next generation as well.
yeah, and subhanallah, your success story is like the ideal progression, right? That's what we really want. We want to enable people so that they can give it forward, and so we need to create more of these individuals, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in our efforts and in your own life. And I want to thank you for all the sacrifices you made in the beginning. And you did two jobs, and you were a part of the trailblazers, and we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for people like yourself. And I just pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you everything that you want in this world and the hereafter. Ameen. Brother Ilyas, jazakallah khair for everything today, and we'll talk to you next time, inshallah. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.